Today, I'm joined by the marvellous Jo Knight, Chief Executive Officer of Leaders.Inc. For those people who don't know you, who've been living under a rock in the property industry for the last 20 years, one of the things I didn't know before I did the research for this interview is that you started off selling typewriter ribbons.
We're going to start right at typewriter ribbons. Thank you so much, Ian.
And I imagine that some of our younger listeners also won't know what a typewriter ribbon is. So why don't you start off with that typewriter ribbon?
Explain the typewriter concept first. Yeah, my first sales role was actually selling typewriter ribbons internationally, which very quickly became laser printer cartridges. So that's the market I started out as, which was a bit niche. But the big thing for me was that it gave me the opportunity to move out to the States for a couple of years. So we're talking 1996, 97, the era of Tony Blair and Britpop, the Spice Girls, and it was really, really cool to be in the States at that time. Totally. And I was invincible. I was out in the States on my own, living out on Long Island, selling these laser printer cartridges to the aftermarket. And I just loved it. Got to travel all around America. No mobile phone, no sat nav. You know, you arrive in Idaho in the middle of the night and think, how do I work this car thing that's on the other side? And it was just really good confidence builders.
That's amazing. What an awesome experience. So I guess in particular when we now think forward to Leaders.Inc, going into SME businesses, in different sectors now, not just property. I guess that personal experience of setting up a business and running it yourself, I guess that must be hugely valuable.
Yeah, I do. But don't you think you look back at all the different things that you've done in your life, in your career, with your kids, in your relationships, and we learn so much, don't we, from all the different things that we do. And it creates that jigsaw picture of where we are now and all these things and end up being really important. And so my failed attempt at having my own business in my late 20s, massively important, both throughout my experience at Moneypenny, being able to understand an SME and what the challenges that they've got and how they might feel, right through to everything even at Moneypenny 2 being relevant to what we're trying to do at Leaders.Inc, to expand into different sectors and help people essentially be the best versions of themselves.
And you're probably known the best within the industry for your role at Moneypenny. Yeah, you're a part of the fixtures and the fittings of that business for so long. You did an unbelievable job at scaling the business internationally, a role which has been recognised with an award, for not only that, but for all of the work that you've done in Wrexham with an OBE. You've got an unbelievable amount to be proud of in terms of the career that you've had so far.
I'm really proud. I'm really proud of what I've achieved. There's the saying, isn't it? It takes the village. It takes all these people who believe in you. There's all the people who want to work with you every day, all the people that want to support you, whether it's with your kids and your family and your life, essentially. The people who will teach you things that you didn't know, the people who will take you to one side and say, you really messed up there, maybe you want to try this. And so I think, yes, I've been incredibly lucky. I've enjoyed what I've done. I had the support of the founders at Moneypenny, placed a huge amount of trust in me. And we know as business leaders how much it takes, doesn't it, to look at someone and say, okay, you can look after this business now, you can look after the baby. It takes a massive amount of trust. So I've always said life's too short for Sunday afternoon blues.
And the thing is that, I know you're saying that it takes a great amount of trust from the family who owned Moneypenny to put that trust in you. But as someone who owns a number of businesses in a number of different sectors, which I don't run myself, to find someone who takes that business on and then takes it to the next level, now that's worth its weight in gold, and so, I think that's obviously been a great partnership for both of you. So obviously Moneypenny has been a big chapter. Must have been a huge decision to decide to move on and do something new.
I think we all come to the point, don't we, where we just think, it works for everybody, that everyone wants a bit of a fresh perspective. I was at Moneypenny for 20 years. What are we all good at after 20 years, It's time to move on. It was time for the business to move on and get fresh management in there. So the business was ready for it. I was ready for it. And there just comes a time that you just need to put your cards on the table and say, guys, you know what? I just think it's time for change. And so it was a complete win-win.
It's got such a reputation. It's the culture, the feel of the place. And when you think about actually what Moneypenny does in its most basic form, is it answers phone calls for a wide range of companies and, takes those messages, sends them back to the business. And I know it does a lot more than that now, and you've got some really deep integrations with some businesses, but it's quite a simple business, isn't it? And you can imagine that traditional call centre environment, and some of us who own estate agencies have run call centres within the estate agent context, and often it's the hardest place to recruit for, it's the hardest place to retain talent because you generally can't afford to pay them that much. What would be the advice that you would give to maybe an estate agency business owner or someone in another sector who's thinking about running some kind of call centre business to create that sort of Moneypenny culture?
Ooh, that's a very good question. There were two pieces of really good advice, I think, that we held in our minds all the way through the Moneypenny journey, which is, how does it feel to be a customer and how does it feel to work as part of the team? And how would I want to experience those two sides to it? And it's really, really easy to say. And it's the same with everything, isn't it? There's an awful lot of words, an awful lot of talking, a lot of chit-chat. But who really, really goes and delivers what they say they should be delivering?
Yeah.
And I just think if you put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's going to be sat on the phone all day, or sat in an office all day, or sat on a keyboard, or doing whatever it is they want to do, how do you make that environment better for them? How do you make them feel better? How do you make sure that those people don't have Sunday afternoon blues, and it's actually something they want to do on a Monday morning? And there's no one big magic button that you can go and press to make that happen. It's a collection of, I always used to say, it's the 100,000 tiny little things that matter. Yeah. And it's like a family recipe that's been passed on down the generations. If you change tiny little things here and there, your output will be different. And you've got to think, what are all the things that matter? And how do I make sure that no matter what, we don't compromise on them? It's the smiles in the corridor. It's the hi, how are you? It's the knowing people's stories. It's daylight. It's not being in a noisy environment. It's having the right headsets and the right sound equipment, and everything just needs to be just aligned and in the right place. And don't let it slide. So go and create your model. Go and you say, this is what good looks like. Yeah. And then don't compromise on it going forwards.
Just as an outsider walking in, the tree house in the centre of Moneypenny, the fact that each of the, and I don't know what the correct terminology is, but each of the booths that the guys are working in is decorated with their own family pictures and their own style.
If there are going to be benefits to your business for having people either full-time or some of the time in an office, why shouldn't it be as nice as working from home?
So not just being customer-centric, i.e. the client, your primary focus is on the people that are working for you at Moneypenny, making sure that they're delighted. And I think I remember sort of Richard Branson quote, which I'm probably going to horribly butcher, which is that your staff will never treat your customers better than you treat your staff. And therefore over-index in terms of staff welfare and making sure they've got a great working environment, especially when you probably don't have the latitude to pay mega wages.
No, very much so. I think we had a real benefit about being based in Wrexham, because traditionally, it's not like paying the wages in the south, and you don't have the competition for those positions either. We always said we'd rather be a big fish in a smaller pond than actually being too competitive for those positions. And that stood us in good stead going up to the States as well. Your location and where you're based is absolutely so important, isn't it? Some people don't have any option. But if you've got a blank sheet of paper, that is an absolute key thing, is what's the availability of people in the local market. And we had no competition in that respect. If you can walk in people's shoes to really think, how does it feel to be this person? Then, and after having spent 3 or 4 days now in ski boots, my own, not someone else's, it is different to walk in different shoes. You do need to have those experiences sometimes.
Definitely. I think it's just really, really interesting to hear that focus on the team who are working for you as your primary stakeholder, and that is the key. That's the key relationship, the key audience that you guys built there. Just before we move on, the OBE, I don't imagine as a 24-year-old selling typewriter ribbons, getting an honour from the royal family was something which was on your mind?
No, it wasn't. It was not a goal I set myself, actually.
Okay.
So I've got it for services to the economy, and I think that's probably from a number of different angles. Number one is Moneypenny's been the largest private employer in Wrexham for a very long time. I ended up on Boris Johnson's Business Council.
How did that happen?
I was quite noisy in the pandemic, particularly with, you had rules for England, rules for Wales.
Yeah.
Half of our people are crossing borders to come to work. It was ridiculous. And I didn't mind telling anybody who would possibly listen to me. So I ended up on a call with Boris Johnson and a couple of business leaders from across Wales. And he was asking for feedback and he wanted to know this, that and the other. He asked me a question which I was halfway through answering and he interrupted me and went to move on. I said, with respect, Prime Minister, I haven't quite finished. And he said, oh, do carry on. Yeah. So I did. And then the invitation came through to join his business council. I was on Rishi Sunak's business council as well. I've driven the Wrexham City of Culture bid for 2025, pipped at the post by Bradford, so we're going again this time. Do you know what, Ian? I just think it's generally, if I can see a little, if I can see a challenge, I take it. If I can see an opportunity to do good in our community, I take it. Because I think it's all well and good as having businesses and making a bit of money and creating jobs. But I think we all have this responsibility to our wider communities. And especially when you think about estate agents too, these are hopefully stalwarts of their local communities. They have a voice, they have a platform, they have a presence. So how can we all use what we've been given and what we've taken for the good of our neighbours?
There are actionable steps that you can take, to support your community. And over breakfast this morning, we were chatting, we didn't use this word, but about reciprocation. We were sat round the table with Chris Rosendale from Connells, Peter, yourself and me, and talking about how we can speed up the housing transactions, how we can actually create more transactions, how we can stop fall-throughs occurring. And I just think it typifies your approach and Peter's approach in particular in terms of giving without the expectation of receiving. It's totally non-transactional in terms of the way in which you guys operate. Moving on then, we've got now new horizons for you really. Not only as the Property Academy rebranded to Leaders.Inc, but you've now taken the role as CEO. So what's the strategy then? If we look at the vision then of, as someone who's actually, a participant in Leaders.Inc, I'm a member of one of your groups and I have been for many years. What would we expect to see differently, both from a property point of view, but then also the other sectors that you're looking to go into?
Well, over the years, you'll have known that one of the key approaches from Peter and the team has been EBI, even better if. Yeah. So from a property perspective, let's go and look at the product as an entirety and think, how can this be even better? What do we need to deliver? We need to deliver a little bit better speakers maybe, for different content, for different, we need to make sure that we're up to date with people's issues.
Yeah.
What do people want? Let's talk to people and make sure that we're delivering. So I don't think there's any kind of huge changes from a property perspective. It's more of the same, but even better.
Absolutely. So your 1,000 tiny little improvements, as we were talking about with Moneypenny, similar sort of vibe.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's just go and make everything a tiny bit better. Yeah. Incremental gains. Yeah. Look at everything that we do. What a brilliant part of the group so far has been to go and visit other estate agents,
absolutely,
other suppliers, the sector, to be able to go and see their businesses. Not everybody can actually make that work within their own home environment, so we are launching an online only, be limited, just to one group to start with, so limited. We've got so many people that would love to have the benefits of that trusted network, access to speakers, being able to put your problems on the table and share it in a very trusted environment.
Absolutely.
Other people can help you. And then you think, what are the other sectors that actually could do with somewhere to go, somewhere to share your issues? And what sectors are there out there that would benefit from it?
And what sectors are you thinking?
I'm not ready to announce. I'll come back and tell you that.
Okay, great. All right, fine. When you're ready, we'll have a...
When you're ready, yes, because what we're not going to do is go too far too fast.
Sure.
And go hell for leather in the wrong direction. This is going to be considered, it's going to be planned. If you're going to create a business that can scale, you've got to get all your foundations right in the first place.
Absolutely right. So a big theme of your leadership style is incremental, marginal gains, evolution rather than revolution. Absolutely. Is that fair?
You don't need to break something to grow it.
Yeah.
What you need to do, first of all, is to get the right team around the table.
Yeah.
You need people who know that they're not the finished product. I like working with people who we can all feed off each other and help each other be better versions of ourselves all the time. I like people who put their hand in the air and say, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't know. Help me deliver this. I'm not quite sure what to do in this situation, because I want a team that I can talk to like that too.
Of course.
I don't pretend to be the finished version of me, the perfect that can do anything. I can't.
Yeah.
I can only do it with the right people on the table.
Amazing. What I'd love to do is I'd love to get into a conversation around technology and change. And I think the big debate of our time is about, in a people-orientated business, how do I now apply this new technology which is coming in whilst not losing my soul? And that's a massive debate, but we'll take a quick break and then we'll come back and have that final conversation.
Lovely.
My name's Carl Judd and I'm the MD of Ashton's.
My name's Alan Webb. The business is Griffin Residential Group Limited. We've had a number of CRMs over the years.
Has given us that confidence that we know we can increase their turnover.
We're truly in one place. Greenhouse has been the holy grail.
So probably the biggest challenge that I certainly see, and I know I'm biased with my involvement in Greenhouse, is that every single business owner is going to have to choose how they implement new technology. The businesses that we've been involved in, I mean, you've talked passionately about the culture at Moneypenny. Property businesses are people businesses at their core. But does that mean that estate agency business owners should just say, well, listen, it's a people business and therefore that's what we're going to focus on because that's our core? Like, how do they go about reconciling those 2 points of view?
I don't think there's any doubt. As business leaders, never mind the balance between tech and people, as business leaders, in order to make sure that our businesses survive, thrive, are profitable and can scale, we have to go and look around us and say, how else could I be doing things? And whether that is hiring a different kind of person for a different role that we wouldn't have had 5 years ago, or whether that's looking and adopting technology that didn't exist 12 months ago. We're supposed to be at the top of the lookout, aren't we? Looking around and see what's available. So I don't think people should be thinking people or tech. I think they should be thinking, what does my future business model look like? And you need to be really, really flexible and don't have these fixed beliefs about what the future of the business might look like. If you want to stay still and you don't want to grow, and you're not particularly bothered about your market share, and you just want to make X amount of money a year, maybe you could just stay doing what you do until you become obsolete. Maybe there's no investment and spend there, is there? You know, maybe that's the best model for some people, not for me. You know, I want to be at the top of the lookout. I want to be saying what else is available. In terms of a technology perspective, I do think that some people's requirement for a solid business case before they do anything really holds them back.
That's interesting because in many ways that is, as business leaders, the way that we would look at a decision. How much is the ROI going to be?
It is, but it's not very entrepreneurial, is it? And entrepreneurs survive on gut feel. And it's the same story that you can get data to tell you whatever story you'd like to tell. It depends which bit of the data you look at and which way you cut it, you know? Quite often it's about how you use the data to tell the story that you want to. But you can't ignore your gut feel, and really, really good business leaders need to feel in their gut that something's the right way to go. And I always used to think from a tech perspective, if you overdo the business case, if you create too many constraints around your tech team, if you don't have, I'm going to call it a slush fund, which is a terrible term maybe for some to use, you need this tech slush fund that it doesn't matter if it doesn't yield you the return, but you need to have cash to play with. And maybe not just cash either. You need to have people's buy-in to play with. That it doesn't matter if you fail at something. You've just got this business culture where you're going to maybe waste a bit of money and you're going to waste a bit of people's time and you're going to waste a little bit of their energy. But if you don't keep trying all these things, there's no dead certs when you're at that top.
100%.
You've got to be able to play with it. You've got to be able to fail. You've got to be able to spend some cash and not worry about it. So where's that coming from? If you've got a business plan for the next 12, 24 months that's too rigid, you will not be investing in growth that's going to drive change in 3, 4, 5 years' time.
Gotcha.
So that's my approach to technology and change, is that be aware that there's other things out there. Your business is going to have to change if you want to survive. And don't create too many opportunities for your team to go, I don't want to try that.
So if it's predominantly a gut feel backed up by some data, instincts, how do you mitigate your risk? So how do you avoid making a change which turns out to be, you know, really problematic for the business?
So different people, I think, do that in different ways. For me, it's about listening to the team around the table. So my gut feel might be telling me to go off in one direction, but I need to make sure that I communicate that properly to the team around me and I listen to their feedback with open ears, not just with a smile on my face going, yeah, whatever you say, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And then you put all this evidence and opinion on the table and you can all make this decision.
Yeah.
But it won't be a dead set. Nothing ever is. But as long as you've got the support of those people around you, I think you do mitigate risk because everyone's coming at it from a different perspective.
I mean, a lot of the bigger companies that I've worked with in the estate agency context often use pilots, as a mechanism to say, we've got this feeling, the facts sort of back it up, we've counselled people's opinion, we've found some willing participants, so we'll do a controlled experiment here. Because you're right, there is no certainty of outcome, is there? None. And one of the conversations we had as we chatted as we walked here was about, as we've maybe learned a bit more through our careers, I've become less certain rather than more certain. I used to be more certain as a younger man.
Do you not think then that's where the team around you comes in?
100%.
Because you do potentially have these other people who are more certain around the table with you. And so the mix of our experience with the team around the table and their different view of the world, I think, is what's really, really valuable there.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things, so one of the things I found in terms of my own leaders, like my co-leaders in my different businesses, which I'm involved in, is that we've all got older together. So actually, at one point, we were very much a young team. I set up my business when I was 27. And so the leadership team around me were all of a similar age or younger. So we were in our 20s, and then we moved into our 30s. Now we've moved into our 40s. And it's interesting that I don't think there is a plurality enough of ages even within the team to keep that perspective. And it's something now which I've certainly become a lot more aware of.
Well, I think there's the danger sometimes that we all recruit in our own image.
Absolutely.
But we also have to leave space around the table for those that don't necessarily have the voice that we've got now, but have got potential in the future as
Absolutely.
well. And then encourage them to have that voice. There's an awful lot of conversations in there about gender and the mix of boards.
Absolutely.
And, whether we've got enough women involved or whatever. And I think whoever is around your table, we need to make sure that they're all given space to speak, because quite often it's the noisy people in the corner, isn't it? And they have their say and everyone walks off and says, what a wonderful meeting that was. Not always. And particularly when you're driving risk, i.e. adoption of new technology, new ideas, new products, the people around the table all need to be confident to have their say as what the potential outcome could be. Otherwise, they're going to be yes people, and nobody wants that in engineering. We don't want to be surrounded by yes people. It's boring.
And it's dangerous. Groupthink, where you all suddenly coalesce around one view because you all have been brought up in the same way, you've got similar outlooks on life, you've got similar experiences, and actually just bringing that plurality of different opinions, I think, is absolutely critical.
A phrase that's always worked for me with those people who aren't necessarily confident enough to speak out around the table has always been, if I, as the leader, if I need to do one thing differently, what do you think that one thing is?
Okay, that's a good question.
They have to pick one thing. It's not, oh no, everything's fine. That's a non-answer.
Absolutely.
But it's about people being able to feel confident to speak.
That's it. And you have to actively encourage that, don't you? Yeah, I've certainly had leadership teams in the past where I felt it was very, I don't want to say deferential, but people would defer to my decision. Does that make sense? It wasn't that everyone agreed with me all the time. It was ultimately when, if my gut went in a particular direction, you just see people coalescing behind that. And it's super dangerous because you can end up, just going off, with your own instincts and not having all of the information that you need because people are just trying to tell you what they think you want to hear. So yeah, you've got to create that space. And so just reflecting back to Moneypenny then, and one of obviously the big business changes, which you started, I believe, and Jesper is continuing, is the adoption of AI technology into that business. And I guess a lot of people, there are now lots of solutions, aren't there, in the industry now, where telephony-based AI. So what's your sort of view on that in terms of, that sort of unique proposition, and your approach to it at Moneypenny?
I think it's about looking at the business as a whole and say, what's our market?
Yep.
What do our customers want? Go back, you're at the top of the lookout. What does that environment look like? What's the market going to look like in 2, 3, 4 years' time? What are the potential difficulties with that? GDPR, call recording, making sure that people's data and calls are safe.
Absolutely.
Because there can be an awful lot of unscrupulous people around as well, providing lots and lots of different solutions. And the best businesses are those that have got a an eye on all these different things that really matter, that the foundations are right before you go off flying in a different direction, particularly when you're dealing with a lot of the big brands. I think that's really, really important. And so I just think it's another change. Our businesses have changed all the time. Our customer bases want different things, whether you're an estate agent, whether you are a law firm, you
sell typewriter ribbons.
But what does the future look like?
Absolutely.
And we all have to be very aware that what we want as consumers is changing.
Absolutely.
Our businesses that we're running are changing. Our customers want different things. And so I think it's about being open-minded, back to the technology and adoption of tech, being open-minded. What does our business need to do? What does it need to look like? Who do we need around the table? What investment do we want? Over what period do we want that return on investment?
Absolutely.
And how can... I think sometimes when you're changing the direction of a business, you also have to think, are the people around the table fit for purpose in terms of being able to deliver that as well? Because the way that you communicate with your customers has to change, your marketing has to change, all your different support structures. If you're going to change tack, we were going this direction, we're now going to go over here. And you need to take a really good look at the entire business and say, is this the right team to take us in the next direction? So,
as a final question for you, if you were advising an estate agency business owner now to think about one change for 2026, what would your opinion tell you?
The most successful businesses invest in their people, invest in their teams, give them chance to go and look at the wider world and talk to different people from different roles and different businesses and say, what can I learn from them? And I think sometimes, particularly in growing businesses, we are so insular in terms of, this is what I do, this is my job, we're all very busy, we're all going in the right direction, oh, aren't we great? That we don't necessarily, as a team, take that time, as we've done, particularly as I've done with Property Academy, Leaders.Inc over the years. And I just think, go and invest in your people, give them space to learn, give them room to make mistakes, let them talk to great people from other businesses and give them space.
I think that is fantastic advice, and I can speak from my own personal experience of having been a member at Property Academy for 10 years, that often the issue which Property Academy creates is having the time to then implement all of the stuff that you've learnt. I felt that probably from about the age of 24 to about the age of about 30, I didn't really learn much. I was working in a corporate environment, and I wasn't really reading. And, having then met Peter, joined the Property Academy, and met all of the other guys who I've formed great friendships with, some of whom will be on this podcast. Everyone does something better than you, like everyone, from the new kid who's just joined, who's 20 years old, who understands social media and TikTok, not looking at you specifically, Liam, in a way that just makes no sense to me, to someone like Spencer Lawrence, who is a lettings expert in a way that, frankly, I will never be. And, you can pick these things up. So, regardless of how people do it, and obviously, Leaders.Inc is a fantastic way to do it. Putting yourself out there and learning and reading, I just think is so helpful to leaders. It's a lonely business, isn't it? It's a lonely business.
It is a lonely business, but I also think if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Go and find a different one.
Absolutely.
And go and learn from all those other people around the table.
Jo, it's been an absolute pleasure catching up with you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.